best team in the National Football League, back on Bryce's best 10 after a 1-week absence. It is the San Francisco 49ers. The Niners are the 10th best team in the National Football League, and here is why. So when you talk about San Francisco, you got to keep this in consideration, right? I would not put any other team that is currently 3-3 on this list unless they have the talent that this Niners team has. Fred Warner, along with TJ Watt, the two best defensive players in football. To me, it's a race between those two. We're in week 7. We're going into week 7. There's a long way to go. We're not even to the halfway point. But those two, Fred Warner's played unbelievable football. Again, the Niners dealt with a ton of injuries. I'll give them credit for being able to survive that. Dre Greenlaw out. My man Talanoa Hufanga continues to deal with injuries. Hopefully he can get back sooner rather than later. But this Niners offense, listen, when they are, and I don't mean this as a shot, when they're leading, forget about it. You are cooked. Again, the Cardinals game being the exception to that rule. But when Brock Purdy's got it rolling, when that Niners run game, Kyle Shanahan's dialing up all these plays, and they're healthy with George Kittle, with guys like this, Brandon Ayuk, starting to disastrous early this season, slowly but surely starting to work his way back in the lineup. I love Jawan Jennings. Listen, this Niners offensive line, it's not great. I think it's on a similar level to it was last year, and they got to the Super Bowl last year, so it's not too big of a hindrance. Otherwise, they could have won it against Patrick Mahomes a year ago. So love everything about the Niners. I don't think they have the best roster in the league anymore. That's coming later in this segment. To me, they're absolutely top 3, bar none, no question about it. The Niners are the 10th best team in the National Football League. At number 9, they haven't been on Bryce's best 10 since September. Welcome back at number 9. It is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bucs are the 9th best team in the National Football League, and here is why. So, I don't know, Tampa Bay just dropped 51 on the New Orleans Saints, which, again, we talked about earlier in the show with the New York Jets. Division games are close. Divisional games, it doesn't matter the talent level, they're always kind of tight. I mean, do we think the Indianapolis Colts are on the same level as the Houston Texans? Of course not. But they took them to the wire, could have easily beaten them with Anthony Richardson, who struggles to throw the football. In the case of the Tampa Bay Bucs, going into New Orleans, Baker threw a ton of picks in the first half, steady in the second half. I mean, if you think about it with the Bucs, if Atlanta doesn't get a playoff in the fourth quarter of that Thursday night game 2 weeks ago, Tampa Bay's 5-1, and we're having a conversation. Hey, are they maybe the best team in the NFC? We having that conversation. This is a loaded Bucs offense. Baker Mayfield leading the NFL in touchdown passes with 15 to be exact. Todd Bowles, good defensive coach. Don't know if I trust this defense in the long run. That's why they're at number 9 and not higher. But I really like what Tampa Bay's done. I thought the loss of Dave Canales to the Panthers would really hurt this team. Thus far, they almost look better. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are the 9th best team in the National Football League. Staying in the division, and this is going to be a mad dash to the finish between these two teams. At number 8 in the NFC South, it is the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons, up 1 spot from last week, are the 8th best team in the National Football League, and here is why. So, again, somewhat close game with Carolina in that first half, but the defense was able to make plays in the second half, pull away. Kirk Cousins didn't play his best game. That's okay, because Atlanta has maybe the best running back tandem in football. Second best to Montgomery and Gibbs. Tyler Algier, Bijan Robinson. Bijan, I believe, had a couple touchdowns. Algier led them in rushing. They're starting to get Kyle Pitts more involved. I've loved Drake London since his days at USC. I think he's a very, very talented weapon. You're seeing this Falcons offense, right? They had a bad opening game against my Steelers. A lot of teams do. The Steelers are maybe the best defense in football. This team has found their rhythm, found their stride. If they continue to establish this running game behind this great offensive line with those weapons, this Falcons team, they're the 2 seed right now in the NFC. Like, they're a very dangerous team for weeks to come throughout the course of the season. The Falcons are the 8th best team in the National Football League. At number 7, dropping 1 spot from last week, despite a win, by the way, it is a team I love this year, the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers are the 7th best team in the National Football League, and here's why. So again, it's not going to look pretty with this team. It's just, we got to come to that realization. It's, in a different way, a little similar to Pittsburgh. And now Pittsburgh's not on this list, and they did beat the Chargers. I get that. Herbert was injured in that game, and Herbert's a better quarterback than Justin Fields. We all know that. But Justin Herbert looked healthier, played pretty well. He was able to hit some guys out of the backfield, take what the defense gives him. Keep in mind, the Denver Broncos have a tremendous defense this year. Chargers go in, score 23 with Jim Harbaugh having some sort of medical situation. Prayers to him. Hopefully he's okay early in that game. It's a well-coached team. There's few few squads in the league this year that know exactly what they want to do on a week-to-week basis. Chargers know they want to be physical on offense, physical on defense. Again, making life hard for a rookie quarterback in Bo Nix. They looked good coming out of the bye. Didn't love their defensive performance in the second half, particularly the fourth quarter, but they built enough of the lead to kind of sustain it throughout the course of that game. And again, divisional games tend to be closer than otherwise. So I love the Chargers. I love the organizational structure. Harbaugh's great. So is Herbert. They may add a receiver at the deadline. Now Cooper's gone, so is Devontae Adams, but I could see the Chargers maybe adding a guy at the trade deadline this year to try and kind of bolster that passing attack. But the run game is insanely great. Offensive line, best tackle duo in the league. This will be a hard Chargers team to beat on a given Sunday when they're healthy. That is why they're the 7th best team in the National Football League. At number 6, also they're up a spot. They replaced the Chargers. These two teams swapped spots from a week ago. It is the Green Bay Packers. The Packers are the 6th best team in the National Football League, and here's why. So spoiler alert, the first of 3 NFC North teams on this list is Green Bay. Jordan Love's officially found his stride. Was unbelievable. 4 touchdowns passing. By the way, 4 touchdowns passing for Jordan Love at Lambeau in back-to-back home games. He's the first quarterback to do that since the great Brett Favre. Jordan Love's been playing exceptional football. I know there was a drama with Romeo Doubs. We understand that and how that goes, but he kind of bailed Jordan Love out. Well, I thought was a very reckless throw, just kind of threw a pop-up near the goal line. Romeo Doubs adjusted to it, came down with it, and it was emblematic of what the Packers did to the Cardinals. Quietly, Green Bay's defense with the Minnesota Vikings game, notwithstanding, has been quite good. Xavier McKinney picking every game this year. He's been excellent. This is a Packers offense that's got, in my view, the deepest wide receiving core in professional football. We know Green Bay always has great offensive lines. We know they have a great running game with Josh Jacobs, and Matt LaFleur has done an unbelievable job with this offense. Not much not to like about Green Bay. I just don't know if their youth and inexperience, if that's going to be something that they can overcome once we get to January with experienced teams like San Francisco, like a Detroit Lions team. So the Packers right now, the 6th best team in the National Football League. At number 5, after last week's win, it is the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens are the 5th best team in the National Football League, and here's why. An argument can be made. You can make the case. Number 1 and number 2 for MVP this year, Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry. Both guys have been unreal this season. Okay, Lamar Jackson, 10 touchdown passes on the year, one of the best quarterbacks in football in terms of passer rating. How about Derrick Henry? Derrick Henry's first in basically everything: rush touchdowns, rush yards, rush attempts. He's been the bell cow, the identity of this Ravens offense. Again, kind of figure out how do we use Derrick Henry on a consistent basis? How do we get the most out of him? And they kind of struggle with that against the Chiefs, against the Raiders to start this year. Once they got him in that I formation, Lamar Jackson turn around, hand it to number 22. He's gonna do some real damage. Derrick Henry's the best back in football still, somehow, at this advanced age and stage of his career in year 9. Lamar Jackson playing exceptional football as throwing it from the pocket, and that was always a thing with Lamar that I never understood. He's a bad thrower from the pocket. He's not as good as a Mahomes or a Burrow, or C.J. Stroud. He can still sling it from the pocket, and he's doing a good of a job as ever this year. Mark Andrews finally caught a touchdown pass. The only reason, despite a 4-game winning streak, why I don't have the Ravens higher, I still don't trust that defense. Despite the loss, Jaden Daniels played really well in that game. We know Jaden Daniels is carded with a lot of defenses. Don't particularly trust this Ravens defense. That is why the Ravens are at number 5. Stay at number 5 this week on Bryce's Best 10. At number 4, staying where they're at as well, it is the Houston Texans. The Texans are the 4th best team in the National Football League, and here's why. The only reason I didn't have them jumping Minnesota, who didn't play this week, obviously, and again, a little bit of spoiler, who's next, is a simple fact of this. Drake May, rookie debut, and props to Drake May. I thought he played really well given the fact that it was his debut, given what he has around him in New England. And so with that said, Houston is top 5 virtually across the board entering this game defensively in all the major categories. And Drake May throw 3 touchdowns on your defense. Now, again, it's a home game, 1 o'clock window. I mean, it's not like a primetime matchup where Drake May is going toe-to-toe with C.J. Stroud, who, by the way, he's also in the MVP discussion. Stroud's been insane this year. Joe Mixon has been the key to unlocking this Texans offense, who's 5-1. D'Amico Ryan's done an unbelievable job. Again, similar to Green Bay, these are very similar football teams, right? We love the young quarterbacks. They have very promising futures. Wide receiving cores are excellent. Running game, defense. I like Houston's defense more than Green Bay's. It's the youth and experience. Will that hurt them in the playoffs? I do struggle with that a little bit with Houston. That is why the Texans, again, great offensive performance, Didn't love what I saw from them defensively, particularly against a rookie quarterback making his debut. So the Texans stay with that as the fourth best team in the National Football League. I already spoiled number 3, so I'll go and give it to you. Number 3, it is the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are the third best team in the National Football League, and here's why. So they didn't play this week. They were on a bye. Have a massive game. Oh my goodness. Can you believe this? We got Vikings and we got the Detroit Lions next week. How that's in the 1 o'clock, 1 p.m. Eastern time window, I don't know. There's some great games in week 7 in the NFL, but to Minnesota, top 6, only team in the NFL, top 6 in terms of points scored, or scoring offense and scoring defense. Sam Darnold's played exceptional football again. We saw signs of it against the Jets. The old Sam Darnold, could that come back out to hurt the Vikings? I still love their running game. If Aaron Jones is back healthy and ready to go, which we're hoping he is. Justin Jefferson is still the best receiver in football, in my view. Addison, Hawkinson should be coming back healthy. This defense is insane. Stephon Gilmore's been a great addition. He obviously had the game-ending pick off of Aaron Rodgers in London a couple of weeks ago. There's not much not to like about this Vikings team. If they had a quarterback that I consider around that top, if they had Jared Goff, for example, and a team I'm about to get to next, I'd be like, oh, they're the best team in football. I might have them over Kansas City potentially because of how great that defense is. But we got to sit here and see if Sam Darnold goes back into what Sam Darnold has tended to be. That is why I've got the Vikings as the third best team in the National Football League. The team they will be playing has been number 2 all season long, has not moved a spot. That is the Detroit Lions. Dan Campbell, what'd y'all do on Sunday?
Kneecap.
47-9 kneecap. That's how that worked in Dallas, Texas. So, listen, the loss of Aiden Hutchinson is absolutely devastating for this Detroit Lions team. Here's the good news for Detroit, okay? Because I've bagged on their defense all season long. Folks, they're top 10 in scoring defense. Like, I was shocked when I saw that stat today. Again, you could say they didn't play well against Seattle, but they played great against Dallas, so that kind of evens itself out. I like this Lions secondary. Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph, Carlton Davis got hurt against the Cowboys, so we'll see if he's able to. He struggled at times this year, but I still believe in him as a good vet, has won a Super Bowl in the past. Listen, Detroit's going to be active in trying getting a pass rusher. Obviously, I and everybody and their grandmama has suggested Max Crosby. I'd love that fit for Detroit. We'll see if that happens. But nonetheless, this offense is just insane. It's kind of ridiculous. You got Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, who was great, by the way, on Sunday. You got Jamison Williams, who could hit you over the top. You got Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's a great receiving threat, route runner, top 10 in the league in my mind. Tim Patrick, right? I was a big Tim Patrick fan back in the day when he was in Denver, and it's like, oh, the injuries hurt him. Tim Patrick's out there making plays on deep balls by Jared Goff, who just so happened to have a pass rating over 150. Behind, by the way, Stan Laporta as well, catching a pass off a lateral. Jared Goff stands behind the best offensive line football. It's an unbelievable coaching staff in Detroit. Ben Johnson's going to be a head coach in 2025, and Dan Campbell has these guys ready to play every single Sunday. Their only loss is to Tampa Bay. It's not bad. This Detroit Lions team is stacked. I think they're the best roster in football at this point. I'm willing to give them that edge over San Francisco. Detroit, the Lions are the second best team in the National Football League. Again, we're in week 7. It's anticlimactic. They've been number 1 for some time. Could they lose for once since Christmas? It is, of course, the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are the best team in the National Football League, and here's why. I don't know. They have a defense that holds their opponents to under 10 points lower than their average points per game. That seems like it should matter. They have Chris Jones, who's playing outstanding football, particularly in the fourth quarter. Listen, Patrick Mahomes has not played great this year. 6 touchdowns, 6 picks, but I would almost use that as an addition to my argument and say Mahomes isn't playing that well. Had they beaten the Ravens, the Bengals are still good. They have Joe Burrow. They beaten the Falcons on the road. They beaten the Chargers on the road, but really at home because it's Chargers never have home games. And of course, the Saints, who aren't that good. But the first 4 games against all teams in the AFC that we consider good to really good, in the case of the Baltimore Ravens, obviously. And I love Atlanta this year as a real playoff team and a division winner. Defense is outstanding. Travis Kelce still hasn't caught a touchdown this year. Travis Kelce's not going to have a lot of big games until the playoffs. I'm willing, after what he did last year in the postseason in January and February, to give him the benefit of the doubt. If Mahomes has been playing this poorly for this long, it's going to turn around at some point. If he gets Juju Smith-Schuster going, who's done nothing outside of Kansas City, at least since the 2020 season, the guy's been unbelievable with Mahomes. Kareem Hunt, just insert him and he'll run for 100 yards. Andy Reid and Mahomes can work magic. And by the way, they're playing San Francisco off a bye. Andy Reid, 21-4 off a bye. Jeez, forget about it. The Chiefs, once again, are the best team in the National Football League. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.